Move that the House take note of miscellaneous business. Te uroro flavel.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Kia ora tātou katoa. Mr. Speaker, I want to take a bit of time on the general debate this afternoon to talk about the closure of the North Skog mill, confirmed in Kawerau being shut down. One of the two paper mills in Kawerau, thereby halving the production of that particular mill. Mr. Speaker, at its peak, that mill had 2,000 workers employed every day. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, te uroro flavel.
Can we just stop our clock to allow those who are moving out just to vacate the premises?
I think the member makes, if you wouldn't mind resuming your seat for a moment, a perfectly fair point. I'd ask members who are moving out of the chamber, please, to do it quietly. Order. It's just discourteous to the member with the call, the te uroro flavel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's appreciated. Sir, as I was saying, at the peak of the time a few years ago, the mill had 2,000 employees, and now it employs 290 workers, and it's estimated with the closure of one of these mills that there will be about 120 jobs lost. So that follows in the wake of 120 redundancies at Solid Energy's Huntley mine. I was up there about a week ago. 400 jobs at Thread at Spring Creek, and another 100 jobs on the line at Tiwai Point Aluminium Smelter. So these are tough times, and especially for the smaller towns that have already been through more than their fair share of difficulties over the years. And Kawerau is no different. But the difference in Kawerau is that it means a hell of a lot more, and it's not just about the loss of jobs. So many will remember the large layoffs in the 90s. What we know from the time was that the government needed to give support and respond appropriately in order to alleviate the burden on that particular community. And so my plea is that we have nothing more, nothing less than that for the township of Kawerau. So in Kawerau, the mill is the major employer, and as with every sort of major recession, small towns with one major employer is hugely impacted upon. It creates huge issues for the community. The local community is heavily reliant on the mill, and the losses are going to have a massive effect on Kawerau. We need definitely to protect local jobs and keep our people at home and not just joining the flight of people heading overseas to Australia. And we need a huge wage economy, and the government needs to take a more active role, I believe, to build on the assets in the town. So the predominance of Māori in these types of small towns is very typical. Kawerau, the likes of Murupara and so on. And it happens for two reasons. The first one is cheaper and more affordable housing. In this case, an ability for people to own their own homes. And secondly, that people are able to live in their own tribal rohe, in their own tribal boundaries. Without a major employer to support the very fabric of the community, so these small towns become pretty much a waiting time bomb when recession and other economic effects start to bite. They eat at the very heart of the community, and it's a pretty much a straight recipe for disaster. Mr. Speaker, with now over 19,000 Māori unemployed nationally, of whom over a quarter are Māori youth, so we have to think about Kawerau as both a crisis, yes, absolutely, but also our greatest opportunity to do something. It's pretty good to hear the Economic Development Minister, Stephen Joyce, talk about creating new opportunities through the concept of a primary growth partnership. Mr. Speaker, we can either think about the downstream effects such as the heightened sense of poverty, the more welfare dependency and the lack of opportunities, or on the other hand we can provide opportunities, some solutions within that community, and that's why the Māori Party has been very much looking at the development of Māori CBD as a way forward. Now, not to deliver too much about that, but the general focus is to aim to support marae, to support their whānau, hapua and iwi, to undertake their aspirations with a particular focus on employment and education, possibly into housing. It's about conceiving of developmental opportunities which are based around marae as focal points for their communities. So we want to see pathways to employment be the focus of the agenda of every marae at every board meeting, right up through to the cabinet table. But Māori, we need to take a leadership role in playing and looking at finding our own solutions to employment, along with obviously other stakeholders. So the role of government could be to facilitate and to enable joint ventures to focus on increasing employment opportunities with Māori collectives and corporations and other enterprises, and we hope that that will happen. We also know that the knock-on effect of job losses and the announcements flow into other industries who support North Cog in the wider Eastern Bay of Plenty region, and that was going to be huge, and we need to consider that. So, for example, the demand for pulp from Kara Hol Harvey will force a reduction in revenue and ultimately jobs with them as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker.